Hi there, everyone. I'm here with Rahi Chun, who is a sexological body worker and actually an amazing human being. So, welcome, Rahi.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're gonna be talking about differences and similarities between sexological bodywork and Dearmouring, and to see how this conversation develops. I'm sure there's gonna be other topics coming up as well. So, Rahi, do you want to tell us a little bit about sexological bodywork and how it works and what it is?
Sure. So I did my sexological bodywork training in San Francisco at the Institute for the Advanced Study of Human Sexuality. That's where it originated in 2003. Since then, I think there's about 18 or 15 trainings all over Europe, Australia, Canada. But the curriculum is pretty much standard. And the curriculum involves how to coach someone in self-pleasure, something called genital mapping, which is really empowering a client in understanding the felt sense of their erogenous anatomy. Things like there's a little bit of scar tissue remediation, things like how to use breath to expand the embodiment of arousal and pleasure. But I must say, like, what I really loved about Dearmouring training is it felt like it really built on the sex bod training. And to be really specific, the sex bod training did not include anything in the realm of genital dearmoring, which really everybody needs and everybody has. So it went as far as empowering the client in understanding their genital anatomy and to have a felt sense of it, but it didn't go into how to release the genital guarding that shows up in pain or numbness or burning sensation. It doesn't, neither for the man or the woman. So, that's a very specific example of how Dearmouring training really builds on the foundation of the sex bod training.
And so the sexological bodywork training covers some of Dearmouring. That's what I've heard. That you already kind of teach people to hold space for emotional release. You start working on traumas, problems. People are becoming aware of them when it comes to sexual area, sexual part of life. But it doesn't actually go as deep as offering the, if you like, therapeutic solution to how to deal with it. It makes you aware of it, but then there is that next step of how to actually successfully transform it.
Yeah, and I would even not go as far as to say that it covers trauma. So I feel like, and I think that's at least in my training, there was a basic introduction of the nervous system, but it didn't really go into so much how to hold space for the different kinds of trauma, the different kinds of differentiating between shock trauma and developmental or relational trauma, or how to really resolve it. So I feel like the sex bod training, it's a fantastic training. It's 5 months long, it's hands-on, and it's a really wonderful kind of overview of a lot of issues that people will come with. It doesn't really go into addressing sexual trauma and how to resolve it from the body. Yeah, I mean, it does. Clients can resolve it simply by bringing more attention and awareness and acceptance around their sexuality. But as far as the hands-on identifying where the trauma exists in the pain body and how to hold space for the discharge of it, things of that nature were not covered.
I mean, my question is, so I'm talking to one sexological body worker, but I'm imagining I'm talking to all of you guys. And is there any actually need or, need for expansion or need for inclusion of these other techniques that Dearmouring offers? Or
Yes, because I think what, people in this arena very, very quickly discover is that, you know, over half the cases involve past trauma. And that's the reason people are dissociated, detached, you know,
Sure.
yeah, avoiding their sexual arousal and pleasure. As far as next levels, I know in Canada there is like a second level that's offered for sexological body workers who've gone through that initial training that does focus more on trauma and the nervous system. And there's a wonderful woman, Catherine Jesse, who's written a couple of books. So that exists for people who've gone through it. And then I'm in the middle of a training now with Dr. Ellen Heed and Kimberly Johnson that offer a wonderful training that focuses more on scar tissue remediation and postpartum. And that includes more elements of trauma. But as far as the basic sexological bodyworker training, it really doesn't have the time or space to address that. And yet it's going to be the issue that practitioners are mostly going to face.
Yeah, I guess because at some point you start working with a client, and at some point you're going to start reaching emotionally raw areas in them. And then I guess you need to, first of all, know how to hold space for that. And create a safe container. And then know how to actually take them through it and steps necessary to complete the trauma release and healing and integration.
Exactly.
Which Dearmouring provides. Yeah.
Right. And what I loved about Dearmouring was also how, you know, it is, you know, our sexual organ is really our whole body. The pain body is everywhere. And, you know, as we've discussed, sexual trauma or unresolved sexual issues, you know, can show up anywhere in the body. You know, and I love the emphasis on the throat dearmoring, internal and external, in the dearmoring training that I did in Sweden. Because I mean, you know, as we know, non-sexual violation issues can show up in the pelvic bowl, and sexual issues can show up anywhere else in the body. And so
they frequently do, as we know, frequently. Yeah. Probably 80% in my experience, 80% of the so-called sexual trauma can be very, very effectively healed and released and transformed, working on other parts of the body, not actually the sexual area. Interesting, you know, really interesting.
So, so I would say the dearmoring is really engaging the whole body.
Yes, it is.
The whole body, and it's really reprogramming, you know, releasing the stories in the body, discharging the pain body, and kind of rewiring or reconditioning the association or the experience we have inhabiting our body. And within that, obviously, a large part of it has to do with our sexual life force energy.
Yes, it does. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Rahi. So is there anything else that you feel like you need to say about this connection between dearmoring and the psychology and the sexological bodywork, or do you reckon we kind of covered the whole
Sure.
thing?
Well, I would say, I would just encourage, you know, any body worker, but especially someone who engages with sexual issues, to really consider the dearmoring, because it is very holistic. It involves the whole body. The pain body exists everywhere. And it in addition to that, it goes very in depth, I would say, in the actual genital dearmoring as well. And, you know, another aspect that I really love about the training is the emphasis on the reparenting aspect, that the space we hold as practitioners, you know, we are, although it's not explicitly said, we are really providing an opportunity to recondition the relational dynamic that our clients had with their paternal or maternal figures in a really powerful way. Because when the body and the body's vulnerability is invited to be explored, it's going to bring up, you know, issues from childhood with our parents.
Yes, it does. I mean, this is true. Reparenting is definitely, at least in my work, again, is a large part of my work, you know. And it's really interesting, like sharing just personal story. Before actually I became a father, so 8.5 years ago, I thought I could hold space for reparenting, and I was all right. But I mean, hands on heart, when I actually became a father and went through this initial first few years of actually being a parent, wow, my space holding container exponentially deepened. So it's really brings me to the point that this space holding thing, you know, I can't fake it. I can't fake holding space for something that I haven't actually experienced myself. And that goes for reparenting as well. So some people naturally gravitate to being very good reparenters within the therapeutic context. And some don't, you know, and that's okay, because not everybody is for everybody, and we all have different clients coming to us depending on who we are, and kind of universe gives us the people that we can actually help. But reparenting is definitely, I mean, for those people that have the natural flair and understanding of the power and beauty of reparenting, when they include it within a Dearmouring session, or actually any other therapy session, it multiplies the results. I mean, it's incredible tool. You know, I call it tool, but actually it's way of being, I guess.
Yeah.
Being a mother, being a father.
Yeah, I can imagine how that did change your space holding, and really, and being able to see the child in each of our adult clients.
I mean, but this is the thing, you know, like most traumas, not all of them, but most of them come from very, very long time ago. Like either womb or after womb, but not much after, like first few years of life.
Yeah.
So really, when I'm working with a client on any of those kind of issues, I'm literally dealing with a 2-year-old child, 3-year-old child, 6-month-old child.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big body, but the actual part of psyche that I'm working on is tiny.
Yeah.
It's small, it's fragile, you know, so it's really important to know that and to kind of really see it. Because it's very easy sometimes to forget, you know, have a big body in front of you, 50, 60-year-old body, you know, but it's not so when we talk about the psyche of the body, you know.
Yeah, that the essence of the client and what is coming up to be healed is very, very vulnerable, very young.
Yeah. Hence the childhood trauma. I mean, the name of it, you know.
Yeah.
It's a very, very fascinating subject, you know.
Yeah.
And then also, like in Dearmouring, I started from what I call kind of hardcore Dearmouring. So it's a lot of elbows, it's a lot of physical pressure. It's kind of going, whoo, like masculine style of Dearmouring, you know. And it didn't actually, talking about reparenting and dealing with sensitive issues and dealing with a small ego, with a baby ego, you know, with a inner child. From experience, I can say that kind of style of Dearmouring didn't really cater for those kind of clients that had inner child issues, because it would be like I would actually be a brutal parent that's kind of slapping his son or daughter with that kind of style of Dearmouring. So what I found is when I switched to what we call soft core or soft touch Dearmouring, so it's a very light, mostly energetic pressure. Suddenly it opened a huge potential for all these different issues and for all these sensitive little beings inside people, the inner children, the hurt little kind of parts of self, to actually start surfacing and to be shown, to be seen. So yeah, the reparenting, there's a lot to say about it, and a lot to practice with and a lot to work with. I think it's a phenomenal work, you know.
Yeah.
Very, very
Isn't that interesting how when the safety of the soft core Dearmouring, when the safety of it presented itself, the younger versions felt safe enough to come to the surface.
Yeah. I mean, I almost say it like, you know, we always kind of talk about transforming the ego, and also in my earlier years of working on myself, I was very hard on my ego. Like, I need to beat it to death. I need to transform my ego. Like, come on, you know. I was so it is something negative or something to be kind of forcefully transformed, you know. And then it dawned to me that actually ego is just a child of a higher self. So it's not bad inherently. It's not wrong. It's perfectly just and right and natural as any other child is.
Yeah.
So then I had a choice. Like at first I was this like strict parent on my ego, like bang it on the head and really like, you know, hardcore.
Yeah.
But actually it doesn't make any sense. Like if I'm just re-traumatizing my inner child or my
Right.
little ego by
Yeah.
the approach. So then turning it to the feminine, the mother energy, the soft touch,
Mm-hmm.
it's so much more powerful. It's so much more effective, easier, and wholesome and normal. And to see the ego as a child, it's not
Yeah.
wrong, it's not bad. It just doesn't know.
Sure.
It's a kid.
Sure.
So
Mm-hmm.
then this grown-up part of myself started nursing my own ego and giving it leeway. Like um, if the ego, for example, wanted to go out and rave and I don't know, take some mushrooms and dance crazy for 2 days, I said, okay, you can have it once. And then after that, then we go into strong discipline for some time, months
Mm-hmm.
of being on a clean path. But if I really wanted to do something, then I actually tend to say to my ego, okay, you can have it once or a little bit of it, or I have a little bite of chocolate, but I don't have to eat the whole bar.
Right.
Just to be gentle with it, to become friends with it. So there is no friction. There is no, I can educate it and I'm not going to give up. So I'm going to maintain my line of self-development, if you like.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to be kind to my ego and treat it as a child that I love and care for.
Yeah.
And, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's
Yeah.
also important to include in understanding about working with reparenting within the Dearmouring concept.
Sure, sure. I mean, that's two things really. One is like, being a partner and an ally within yourself,
Mm.
But what I'm really struck with in what you're sharing is recognizing how the softer and gentler approach, there's no reason for the guard or the armoring to be there. The softer we approach it,
Absolutely. There's
the
nothing to fight.
armoring, yeah, there's nothing to protect against
Yeah.
when it is
Yeah.
gentle and soft.
Yeah. And the only trick of it is it has to be genuine and authentic.
Yeah.
So if the therapist can actually have an effect the client feels, because it's all feeling. There's nothing up here in the head. It's all through the body, sensed, felt, instinct, you know? If
Yeah.
the client instinctually feels that the therapist can hold that space, that's it.
Yep.
The session goes, you know?
Yep.
And
Yeah.
equally, if the client feels that the therapist is not a very good parent or doesn't hold that kind of depth of container,
Yeah.
they simply won't show up.
Yeah.
Literally, they won't show up. You know, you'll never
Yeah.
even know they had an inner child.
Mm-hmm.
So buried inside, you know, it
Mm-hmm.
just won't come up. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and then as soon as you say you kind of hold it gently, suddenly the little head comes up like me, you know,
Yeah.
work on me.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I think it is so instinctual, and we all have childhood wounds to different degrees, so it is so primal that like our unconscious can just pick it up, whether it's safe, whether it's authentic, whether it's real.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And I must say that's in the 11-day basic de-armoring in Angsbaka, I was really impressed with the way the space was held. Because it was a sizable group, but there was a trust in the integrity and clarity of the presence of the container, and yet that soft gentleness as well. And that combination is pretty rare to experience, I think. And that's what really makes the container strong, but also safe enough to really go deep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a really unique and really wonderful experience.
I mean, I have to say, I'm running this thing, but I'm still amazed at what it does to people.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I do it afterwards, I'm gobsmacked and amazed. Like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible.
It's incredible.
And yet it's so simple, really. Like, there's no magic. We didn't invent anything. It's just, it's all there.
Yeah.
It's this way of working with people and, as you say, kind of providing that safety and freedom to express, freedom to be whatever and whoever they are. That really is the key, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And being witnessed in that, you know,
Mm-hmm.
this is the key, you know, presence and allowance.
Yeah, yeah.
It's really, it's a masculine and feminine. You nailed it in the head. It's a masculine and feminine presence. Allowance
Exactly.
and feminine and presence being masculine and like the container and yet strict kind of, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
because
And
it is
that gives,
de-armoring.
yeah. And that gives permission and a sense of safety for that organic life force to come through in the way that it wants.
Yeah. Rahi, thank you so much. A real pleasure talking with you. And also, I would love to pick you up on another conversation about, I'd like to talk about, and I hope you would too, about combining de-armoring and within gay community.
Mm-hmm.
I think there will be an awesome combination. I've been thinking about it for a while now, for some years actually,
Mm-hmm.
how I'd like to start working in the gay community.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But conversation for another time.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Thank you so much. God bless you, and I'll speak to you soon.
Okay, sounds great, Dan. Good to see you.
Ciao. Yeah, ciao.